Haha!
Haha! Hello everyone, welcome to our second Q&A of Doom. And we had a couple of issues to be here today, but hey, we are, so fucking awesome.
Happy to be here.
Happy to be here. We have, as usual, Mr.
Stefan Horvath.
and Mr.
Louis McLean.
And I am not Queen. Hi.
Wonderful.
So this Q&A, actually the answers are going to be mostly about the mid-chapter patch.
Our first mid-chapter patch.
Yay.
Whoa, that's nuts.
So let's go. We're
All
going
right.
to jump into
Cool.
it.
Please ask the questions.
Nick and Z from the official forums is asking, is there any change or planned change to Decisive Strike, Sprint Burst, and Self-Care? The trifecta.
Ooh,
Trifecta.
it's a great question. Thank you for the question.
Yes.
Yes?
Sort of?
Yes. Well, so they asked if there's planned changes. There were planned changes?
There are planned changes.
There are planned changes, but there are changes that were planned that won't come through. But we'll talk about that.
Rewind.
We're still back.
Confusion.
Cut.
Do it again.
Yes, absolutely. Sprint Burst, Decisive Strike, and what was the last
Self-Care.
one? Self-Care. We're all on the list. As for what has gone through, well, we're going to go through that, but we will definitely go through what the propositions were and what we tested internally. So the first one is Sprint Burst. Sprint Burst, initially what we had tried to do, so I guess would we like to talk about what the issue is with Sprint Burst
Let's
as well?
talk about Sprint Burst.
Okay. So Sprint Burst is a great ability that allows you to break into a sprint at 150% your speed for 3 seconds on running. So as soon as you start running, you will consume the Sprint Burst perk and go on cooldown for 60 seconds, or for 50 or 40, depending on the natural exhaustion time that you have. Now, the modified effect that we decided to add is that while you run, you cannot actually recover from exhaustion.
We've played around with how exhaustion recovers a few times.
Yeah.
So this would be a tweak that affects all exhaustion perks.
Well, initially we wanted to affect just Sprint
Only
Burst.
Sprint Burst, but exhaustion should probably be the same no matter
probably
where you get
affect
it from.
everywhere. Yeah. So right now, what we're going to be trying for this mid-chapter release is that each of the exhaustion perks will not recover while you're running.
Right.
So it's not a nerf to Sprint Burst only, it's all exhaustion
It
perks
affects all exhaustion.
that are getting...
Yeah. So we should see less of someone sprint bursting away and then during a chase sprint bursting again, unless they were actively crouching or walking during that chase for 40 seconds.
yeah,
Which is
And
a
who
long
walks for
time.
40 seconds
Yeah.
during a chase?
during a chase.
It's pretty impressive. So
Yeah.
it's a long chase. The second one is Decisive Strike, obviously. So Sprint Burst is the one that we'll be going through for the mid-chapter patch.
It's in the PTB, we're going to be able to try it and everything.
Yeah. Decisive Strike.
Not in the PTB, not in the mid-chapter patch, but we're working on it.
Yeah. We tried the once per match when the killer is, when grabbed by the killer, you will stun the killer in place if you succeed a skill check, of course, for 2.5, or 3 seconds, and you will not be dropped. This is supposed to be an occasion for your teammates to come in and save you with a flashlight save or a pallet stun if you so happen to be under a pallet. We're still working with this as we are waiting on animations as well. We're making sure that the actual perk is fun to use before committing to doing animations and fleshing out the perk completely.
So when the killer is stunned in place, you can still wiggle.
You can
Yes.
still wiggle.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's the
That's that
idea.
aspect, yeah. And we also investigated, instead of having just the great skill check zone, right? So then the really hard skill check, we'll have a good and a great.
For like a small
right?
stun and a
good
big stun.
and a great. Yeah, so that you can get an extra stun time from the great.
So here I'm going to be the community for a second. But why are you not putting it in the PTB just for test then?
That was pretty calm, not Queen. That was nice.
I'm calm.
Yeah, well, we don't actually have the time. So the PTB is right before the release of the mid-chapter patch. We won't be able to have time to iterate upon Decisive Strike, let alone put it in an animation and make sure that everything is working correctly.
Yeah, not quite as iterative as the last PTB.
Yeah, and to remove it is not as simple as we would think. So,
Okay. Thanks for
yeah,
that.
Decisive Strike is quite a complicated perk, has always been.
There's too many tendrils going into various aspects with Decisive Strike.
Yeah. But keep a lookout for changes for Decisive Strike, and let us know if that's something that you would like to see at some point. Self-care. All right, so this is the last one on the list at the moment. It unlocks the ability to heal yourself without a healing item, of course, at 50% your normal healing speed. And what we wanted to try was that interrupting the self-care action before you've healed the health state will reset any progress in that health state to 0. That's what we initially tried.
So
That's awesome.
If you stop for any reason, your healing bar goes back to 0.
Goes to 0.
To 0.
Not back to 0. It goes like it just resets completely.
Regardless of what it was,
Yeah.
it goes to 0.
Yeah. Now this might have been too strong. Obviously, we did get some feedback internally.
Too strong of a nerf.
Nerf.
Right.
Yeah. What we're going to try instead is that if, let's say, you have 75% progression that was added through a regular healing means, so for example, you were healing with a med kit, or like a friend was healing you, whatever the case may be, if you start self-caring and you stop, it will just reset to the point where
Where it was
Where it
before.
was. Yeah.
before.
Okay, so originally, so that means that originally the first iteration was, okay, I get healed at 75% by a teammate. I self-care a little bit. I get interrupted. I leave it, and I get back to 0.
You,
Yeah.
you accidentally
okay.
clicked M1. You didn't
Right.
mean to.
So,
Bam! All your healing.
so that was deemed too much of a
Too
nerf.
hard. Yeah.
too punishing. A lot
So-
of feel bad moments.
So basically, any heals that is coming from someone else is safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Or through a med kit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Obviously, when you get knocked down, you do get your health state reset to 0 when you get
Yeah.
picked back up.
Like you used to.
Like always. So.
But
That's the
it's still. So for example, I self-care in a corner, and then I get interrupted. That still goes back to 0. I can't.
Yes.
I can't just go finish up the heal behind a pallet or something.
No, it'd be a long behind the
So-
pallet heal.
That's not in the PTB.
Not in the
It's
PTB.
not in the mid-chapter patch.
Not in the mid-chapter patch.
We want to hear what you think about it.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the other caveats for putting that into the mid-chapter patch was that when you use a med kit, I believe you automatically self-care
Yes,
after using it. So
there's a complicated interaction where your medkit heal kind of turns into a self-care heal, and that needs to be straightened out before it goes live.
Oh, okay. Or else it's gonna think it's the same thing, and resets.
Yeah.
You know that med kit charge you added? Goodbye.
Yeah.
So
So there's still more work to do on that.
yeah,
That one.
that is the trifecta.
That's a trifecta.
Thank you for the question.
That was the first question.
Mm-hmm.
There are
Then
more
we have more.
because we actually changed a lot of perks for the mid-chapter patch.
That was
So
That's what we did.
going to that,
Yeah.
Lux on Discord is asking, what perks can we expect to see reworked?
All right.
And I don't know if you have half an hour now, but
Strap yourselves in, boys.
Yep.
Take a seat. So sprint burst. No, I'm just kidding. Dejà Vu.
Deja
Isn't that
vu.
funny? Sprint burst. Deja Vu.
Deja vu.
Yeah.
Feels like I've been here before.
Oh no! Oh yes, you did it. So this is coming for the mid-chapter patch. This was supplied by one of our QA, Jeff, which is really awesome in terms of an idea. It unlocks the potential in one's aura reading ability as normal. Paranoia paired with your horror of failure helps prepare you from repeating the same mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
I hope we have the text up at this point. Now, the aura of 3 generators, which are in close proximity to one another, are going to be revealed to you for 30, 45, and 60 seconds at the start of the match, and each time a generator is completed. If you're holding a map that can track objectives, the objectives revealed will be added to the map.
So the difference is that instead of all the generators at the beginning and then nothing for the rest of the game.
When you say all the generators, you mean 1 or 2,
yeah,
right?
1 or 2.
Oh, sorry. I forgot how bad Deja Vu was. So instead now it's the 3 closest generators that are together. Not the closest to you, but the 3 that are closest to each other.
Yeah,
And it's revealed at the beginning of the game, and then again every time a generator is completed.
exactly.
That sounds pretty neat.
It is pretty disgusting. So I was playing with it, and I was always like, okay, those are the 3 generators. Clearly that one is the middle of all that. And then I would knock that out, and then the killer would have to deal with an even further distance. So You had some interesting insights on how people would be using this and how.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, how it might change how people are playing.
I thought this was interesting. If this becomes popular, it's impossible to tell so early.
It's impossible
But
to
let's
tell.
say this became popular, it could be something that killers have play with too. Because if they can identify what the 3 closest are, and they know that people are going for them, it becomes an interesting zone of play.
Contention. Yeah, absolutely.
So I think it's an interesting perk. I'm excited to see if it gets played.
Yeah, me too. Ace in the hole. No, wait, I skipped Calm Spirit.
No.
Let's go
How
to
could
Calm
you
Spirit.
Skip Calm Spirit.
Because I saw Decisive Strike and I was just like, we can't talk about that again. We already did.
Calm Spirit, the new
Yes.
powerhouse.
Get out. All right, so Calm Spirit reduces the chances of alerting woodland creatures, for those of you at home, that is crows, by 80.
Woodlands creatures.
Yeah.
Only crows.
Only from
Where
the
are
woodlands,
the
too.
squirrels?
It doesn't affect the horse.
Does the horse actually only make noise when you're there? Or does he make noise when you're far away, like a tree when it falls in the forest?
That's a really good and philosophical question.
Aw.
But Calm Spirit does not affect the horse. What's the horse's name? Maurice?
I think
Maurice.
so.
Yeah.
No, was it Maurice?
We might have to
No,
cut this if it's not official.
Yeah, yeah.
No. Dave said it on Twitter.
Oh
He
yeah?
did.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
anyway, it does not affect Maurice the horse.
Yeah, I think we do cull the horse at a distance,
Okay.
so I feel like he doesn't make any noise.
But Calm Spirit doesn't affect it.
No. So Calm Spirit, we're going to be adding the ability to stop yourself from screaming when you get affected by madness, by the clown's bottle, so the gas rather, and perhaps other screams in the game. We're trying to figure out exactly which screams this will be affecting. This could affect your dying hook screams, you getting knocked down, you getting hit.
But that's kind of a downside, though.
Could be.
It's an interesting thing.
Yeah.
Some people who are really attuned to sound are able to tell which direction a survivor zooms off on based on
Yep.
like how they're screaming. So possibly the ability to, if this perk were to remove that scream, then maybe survivors would be able to use it to their advantage to be able to juke around and
Yeah.
be a little stealthier in their escape.
Okay.
If you're looking at your portraits in your UI, you will notice when someone gets hit and you'll notice when someone gets downed, right? Now, obviously, if they're running knockout, this could be a bad thing for you because you've just pretty much hidden your exact location on the map. So it can have positives or negatives depending on how you see it. We're going to test it out and see how it works. So this is coming for the mid-chapter patch.
It is. I really like the idea, since this is a Jake perk,
It's a Jake perk.
to go along with Iron Will, the stoic Jake. You know, he doesn't cry when he's injured. He doesn't scream when he's hurt. He never loses his cool.
Yeah.
Jake is a calm spirit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that. Ace in the hole. Talking about Ace today. So Ace in the hole initially has given you a 100% chance. I think it was actually a variable chance to find an add-on in the chest.
Yeah. So when you loot an item in the chest,
Oh, good point.
Ace in the hole would give you a chance to get an add-on on
Yes.
that item.
Of very rare quality or lower.
Right. No brand new parts.
No brand new parts. We have added the ability to add a 10% chance to find a second add-on, 25 or 50% chance as it increases for a uncommon or lower
For
rarity.
a second add-on.
For a second add-on.
So now when you ace in the hole, like tell us the story of your ace in the hole find the other day.
Yeah, I believe I had a flashlight
Yeah.
with a battery and an intense halogen,
It's beautiful.
which was quite disgusting.
You looted a toxic flashlight out of a
Yeah,
box.
it was very. And then I looted a yellow med kit with the healing sutures. I believe it
beautiful.
was. Yeah, it was great. Yeah.
I want to see more chest gameplay.
It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Chests everywhere.
Play with the chest.
Play with the chest. Soul Survivor. What is wrong?
I just can't.
Are we too funny? All right.
You have something against looting the booty?
Looting the booty. Oh, was it chests?
Yeah.
Okay. Booties and chests.
Booties and chests.
That's what A should have been, is looting the booty.
Looting the booty?
Yeah. Soul Survivor.
You guys don't need me.
Please. As more of your friends follow the killer, you are shrouded in isolation. The killer's aura reading abilities towards you are disrupted. This was fairly complicated prior, and it
I don't
didn't
even
necessarily do
remember
what
how
people-
Soul Survivor used to work.
Do you want me to tell you?
Please tell me.
At level 1, it gave you 40% detection reduction.
It reduced the effective range of the killer's aura
aura
reading
abilities,
perks,
but only on
against
Union
you,
2, yeah. And then I think it was 30, 50, 70, and then it was like It went up to 100%.
It's scaled based on perk level, and it also scaled based on how many people were alive.
It was intense.
It was kind of a technical nightmare, to be honest.
Yeah, and we wanted to have 2 versions. If you want the
Because
obsession,
obsession
if you want
and
the obsession.
non-obsession.
That did not happen. Holy crap.
Yeah.
So now, your aura cannot be read by the killer within a max range. So what this means is that starting from your point to where the killer is, if he's within that range, he won't be able to read you, right?
Yep.
The ranges are 16, 18, and 20. These values can change, of course.
They might even be different by the time that they peak to be.
I think so. I do believe so, but I might not. So for each killed and sacrificed survivor, you will gain a 16, 18, or 20 meter range where the killer won't be able to see you. So at the beginning of the game, obviously, you will have a 0 increased range as no one has died yet. As soon as one person has died, you'll have a 20 meter range. So for example, if the killer is running Nurse's Calling and you are within 20 meters, so the first 20 meters of Nurse's Calling, he will not be able to read you while you self-care, right?
He might hear you, though.
Might hear you.
Maybe, yeah. But if you're outside that range, so basically in the 20 to 28 range, then he will see you, right? As soon as another person dies, now your actual aura reading range is hidden up to 40 meters. So barbecue and chili, which is, I believe, at 32?
We had a talk about that yesterday. Remember, I was saying, well, if the third survivor gets killed, it takes time before the kill is actually applied, so it's probably not going to shroud you off the barbecue and chili for now.
That's a good point.
It is a good point, which is why we had talked about actually increasing the ranges before we get to that point. We talked about this in the last video that nobody saw or heard.
or perhaps one day looking at when somebody counts as dead, because right now when somebody's being sacrificed, it takes a long time before they
But also that would influence the hatch.
Exactly.
So we're kind of like
a lot of things interlinked here.
Yeah, isn't it wonderful? Synergy.
So for now, those are the numbers, but eventually we're going to think about barbecue.
To be fair, it actually still scales based on level, perk level, and number of people dead.
It totally does.
But it's easier to understand.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
I simplified. Dark Sense. So.
Wait, we have a perk called Dark Sense?
We do.
I've never seen it.
Have you heard the mirror?
It was somewhere down there with Dejà Vu.
Oh, yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
So it unlocks the potential in one's aura reading ability. Sounds familiar. Each time you complete a generator, each time you complete a generator, the killer's aura will be revealed to you for 5 seconds. And each time a generator is completed, so it's not actually when you complete a generator. And when the last generator is powered, the killer's aura is revealed to you for 5, 7, and 10 seconds. So that's what Dark Sense used to do. We used to show the killer's aura after the last generator was powered for 5, 7, 10 seconds. Now we've added the ability to see the killer's aura.
When you say something like 5, 7, 10, you mean for perk level 1, 2, and 3, for those of you who are maybe slightly confused about that.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not an additive thing.
Yeah.
So 5, 7.
5, 7, or 10.
That means you're getting chased by the killer. Well, you're going to see his aura.
Yeah.
It seems like a stupid thing to do, but if someone else does a generator, you're trying to hide or you're behind a line of sight blocker, and you see his aura, then it's good for you.
Keep in mind, there are other perks that might affect this that they don't know of yet, but they will know shortly. So, Bitter Murmur, nice segue, unlocks potential in one's aura reading ability.
Dejà Vu?
Oh, we did it again. Each time a generator is fully repaired, survivors within 60 meters of the completed generator will be revealed for 5 seconds.
So now...
And when the last generator is fully repaired, all the survivor auras are revealed for 5, 7, and 10 seconds. That is tier 1, 2, and 3. Thank you, Louis.
Because Dark Sense and Bitter Murmur, they were mirrored before,
Yeah.
but they only trigger at the end of the game.
It's only an end-game perk.
Now they will be triggering over the course of the game as generators complete, both the killer version and the survivor version.
Exactly. So they will play on each
And
other.
also the area is 16 meters at max level. If you are in the area, and you run out of it, you're still being you still
If you were within 16 meters of the generator when it got completed for 5 seconds, your aura will shine bright.
So the trick of just saying, oh yeah, you finished that gen, I'm just gonna
I'm just gonna scoot off. It's gonna take me 4 seconds. Oh shit.
Yeah, that's it's gonna be harder to deal with.
So with Bitter Murmur comes a big change, Tinkerer. Yeah. So Tinkerer, we've talked about multiple times about removing Tinkerer as it scales very poorly.
Tinkerer had sort of 2 major problems. It did push certain
powers.
Certain powers, yeah. So what Tinkerer used to do, for those who don't know what Tinkerer did, is that it would increase the effectiveness of add-ons that made your power charge faster. So for things that let you set your traps faster, charge or rev your chainsaw faster, it would make those add-ons even stronger. A flat 10%, or setting hag traps or things like that.
Really fast triangles.
Yeah. We even added things like things that wind up your hatchet throw. It made those faster. And in some cases, it really pushed these things into sort of unhealthy values. So it was very hard to balance this when it was giving the same bonus to all add-ons, regardless of how those add-ons were supposed to scale.
And you had to scale down the base power of the killer also.
And then on the production side of things, it became kind of a drag when every time you want to create a new killer, we have to ask ourselves, how does this interact with Tinkerer? How does this, so it's a lot of work to maintain something when we're not even entirely happy with how it's working.
Yeah.
So now there's a new, very different concept for Tinkerer. We talked about it on a stream before. This is where we are with it now. Tell us what you think.
So, I'm not telling you what I think, I'm telling you what it is. When a generator is repaired at 90%, you receive a noise notification and your tear radius is reduced to 0 meters for 4, 6, and 8 seconds. I removed the cooldown. That's good, so I think we'll be better off. So what this means is that when a generator is close to completion, you will get a noise notification. You'll be like, okay, it's that one. And then your tear radius will be reduced to 0. So if you're in a chase with somebody, that means that they no longer think that, or they don't know that you're right behind them, you know. And if you'd like to use that to beeline towards a generator, talking to you, Mr. Billy, Silent Billy, you will murder some people, especially if you've got bitter murmur.
0
So
terror radius, Billy. That'd be insane.
I do like that this is a Billy teachable, and I think it's also best suited to Billy since he's the one who's best equipped to zoom over to the almost completed generator and spook the heck out of some survivors.
Spook the heck. There you go.
Family-friendly stream today.
Heck.
So we used to have that at 95%. We already put that down to 90%. It might still be a little high. We will check.
Yeah.
Predator.
Do you guys remember Predator?
Yeah, this is a Wraith perk. You might have heard of it. Previously, Predator has increased the duration of scratch marks so that they lasted longer. Now the scratch marks left by survivors will spawn tighter together instead of being as big of a distribution, which means you should, in theory, see less on the walls and more of a straight line to a survivor. Now, the values that we currently have might be too strong, and you might have a beeline to a survivor, so we might have to increase that slightly. But the idea of the perk is to have a better control of scratch marks. Questions?
I often said that old Predator kind of made it harder to track and
totally
chase
did.
people.
Yeah.
All those scratch marks everywhere were rather confusing. So I've seen some trails with Predator on. They're pretty scary. I'm eager to see what you guys think.
Yeah. I think you took my pen. So whispers. You have rudimentary understanding of the entity's voice. I thought it was going to take me a few more times to say that word. Sporadically hear the entity's whisper when standing within a 24-meter range of a survivor. So we've changed it to make a smaller range, right? First of all, I just want to mention this is not coming for the mid-chapter patch. We decided to take this out, as we weren't sure of the numbers or the effectiveness of this perk after we were finished.
Let's just start with this. We're looking at whispers.
Yeah.
Here's one idea.
Yeah. So we would reduce the range from 32 to 24, and the power of whispers would increase its range by 10, 8, and 6 meters for each survivor that is killed. What that would mean is that your 24-meter whispers range would increase per person who dies. So your 24 would become 30, 36, and then 42 at the final
So it's
number.
Stronger early game,
Yeah.
weaker end game.
Now the values might not actually make it actually weaker than it currently is overall. We would have to make those values a little higher and perhaps have a higher base number, or just make it get ridiculously large. The idea being that it's, as you said, stronger early game and weaker late game. I know a lot of people have used it specifically for the late game to find that last guy, but we're going to look for other solutions for our end game, which shouldn't put such a focus on whispers and should allow you to focus on other perks instead.
The end game should be good, not just based on whether you have this perk or not.
Yeah,
right?
That's exactly it. So keep that in mind when we were talking about whispers. Sloppy Butcher. Now we talked about this a while back for the Wraith Cube. This would be coming for the mid-chapter patch. For the other ones that we said that it was not coming or was coming, and if we didn't mention if it was not coming, it is coming. Is that fair enough?
Yeah.
Yeah? Oof. All right.
Yeah.
Sloppy butchers, so you know where to hit them to make them bleed. Wounds inflicted by successful attacks will slightly, moderately, and considerably increase the survivor's bleeding frequency. This is actually hemorrhage. We should make sure to change that to this hemorrhage status effect.
Very well.
And causes now the mangled status effect.
So really what it says now is when you hit a survivor, they are mangled and hemorrhaging until healed.
Yeah, that's exactly
What does
it.
mangle do?
Mangled makes it so that it takes longer to heal that survivor.
So
I think
it makes
the
sense.
20
default is
25.
25%
Yeah.
penalty to healing speeds on
you.
that survivor.
So now you can go and smack some people. They will bleed profusely. Put on your bloodhound and chase them until they die. No mither.
No mither.
Bring it. Save the best for last. This is the last perk we'll talk about.
You said no mither. Now people are going to be, what are the changes?
Sorry.
Oh, I apologize.
No changes to no mither for now.
Yes. Save the best for last. You become obsessed with one survivor. I just wanted to mention, this is a perk suggestion that we received a long time ago from SoulTaker666, I believe from Reddit. So thank you so very much for the suggestion. It seems really cool, and I've enjoyed using it so far. And earn a token for each successful hit that is not dealt to the obsession. So each time you hit somebody who is not the obsession, you're going to get a token. Each token grants a stackable 5% decreased successful attack cooldown. So every time you successfully hit somebody, the Blade Wipe that you do after will be
It's faster.
reduced
It gets
by
shorter and
5% for each token. Up to 8 tokens. For those of you who don't like math, that's 40%.
40%.
Attacking your obsession, however, will make you lose 4, 3, and 2 tokens. This is based on your perk level. And you can no longer gain tokens if your obsession is sacrificed or killed. Now, what this means is you'd like to get as many stacks from people who are not the obsession before murdering your obsession.
Right.
I do believe that the obsession can be on the hook and on his way to die while you go smack other people and get your tokens.
Yep.
And since he dies
So
and you're not getting a hit, you will keep your tokens. So you have your 8 tokens for the rest of the match. So if you play this really well, this can stay as powerful as you have it.
And like you were saying, if you find someone de-obsession in a locker,
Oh yeah,
then
Yeah.
it's gonna be. I wonder how that works with Tombstone Myers. Does he just grab the guy and he's just like, I didn't hate you, and then he just keeps his 8 stacks? You'll find out.
It may be that it's extra synergy between the perk and the character whose perk it is, which is the kind of thing I like
Who would
to
have
see.
thunk it?
I like to see that.
That's
kind of
crazy.
thing. So you saved the best for last.
That was
So that's the perk changes that we have to talk about.
it.
But there's more.
we have 2 questions that are related.
Ooh.
So Rexile is asking, will we ever get some new items and add-ons to play with? And I'm sorry for your name, NTGHTNBR.
You know, Nitaja number.
That was actually really well.
Thanks.
You're good. Will drafts put already injured survivor into die-in states? Because right now you don't really care about getting into a trap if you are injured, unless the killer is nearby to pick you up, which really messes up with trappers.
Fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
So we actually took some time for this mid-chapter patch to look at our original killer, original trappy boy,
Well, original trappers.
Mr. McMillan. I guess Mr. McMillan would be his dad.
That depends who's calling him.
That's right. So the trapper is getting some work.
He has some work.
Rejoice.
done
He
already.
got some
Yeah.
work. He got some work did.
He's done. He's got some work done. He's got his hair done.
So
It's good.
yes, new add-ons and reworks to add-ons for
Yeah.
the trapper.
Not only that, but he also has a faster trapping time.
And we increased the speed at which he sets traps.
Yeah, which is really nuts. So now instead of placing traps at 1 second for the in, this is basically when he goes down to get in position to start placing his trap. Then he has 3 seconds currently live where he places his trap, and then he gets up for his last point, 1 second, I believe. So the whole damn thing takes 5 seconds. If you just tap your power button, so M2, you will go into a 1 second down and a 1 second up, so full 2 seconds. It's a little long.
Changed it to.
We changed it to 0.5, 1.5, and 0.5, I believe.
So total before and total after.
Total before was 5, and now it is 2.5.
Thank you.
You basically have the time it takes to set
We
traps.
did have the time it takes. And we modified all the charge add-ons in accordance to that as well, for the Trapper, specifically in that regard. As we removed all of Tinkerer mentions and all Tinkerer interactions, as you can no longer equip that perk with that ability.
We felt a little more comfortable
Tweaking the actual
some
powers.
some of the powers, some of the add-ons that affect powers.
Which is pretty, I think it's pretty fun. We've created 2 new add-ons for our boy, Mr. Evan. We've created the Trapper Sack, which gives you 1 extra bear trap and allows you to...
I guess it's worth mentioning that we sort of shifted things
I
around.
was gonna get to that after.
Okay, go for it. Sorry.
Unless you want to start with that. We can start with that. Why not? We did a rarity pass, which is really nice to get some consistency across all of our add-ons. The rarities have now been normalized, I wrote it, to match the add-on rarity pattern that we would like to see for all of our killers. This should allow for better blood web distribution that is consistent between one killer and another. Obviously, there are other things that we have to look at, offerings and what else shows up on the blood web?
You know.
Yeah, that's the thing. And we need to look at those things as well to make sure that the distribution is proper across all killers and whatnot. Having only an ultra rare that is a Mori or a hidden secret
So
offering
what is
weak.
the goal?
Yeah. So
for
the pattern.
pattern.
The pattern for all add-ons should be
4 common, 5 uncommon, 5 rare, 4 very rare, and 2 ultra rare.
right.
There
For
are some
every
killers,
killer.
yeah, and there's some killers who already follow this pattern. But for example, the Trapper did not have 2 ultra rares, right? So we went and
He was also missing 2. He only had 18 total.
He only had 18 as well,
Yeah.
Billy's also missing some ultra rares,
Yes.
but that's not for the mid-chapter patch. That will probably be later. It's your guess as good as mine as to what his ultra rares might be. Is that too deep? No, I think people got that. So, in terms of the add-ons that we did create, we created the padded jaws, which do not inflict damage to trap players and increase the blood point gain for trap players.
So that's speed limiter for trap.
That's speed limiter. By the way, let me just before we continue, and a lot of these were proposed by Louis, and these are great ideas. I hope you guys enjoy them as much as I have. Yeah, I think you put a lot of effort into them, so this is pretty damn awesome.
I put on a designer hat a little bit and worked on his.
Can we mention that you're part of the design team? Can we just break this for a moment and just be like, screw this? Yeah.
I'm working mostly with the design team now on these kinds of balance things, and I'm super stoked. And we hope to see lots of cool stuff coming out of that.
We're going to see that in the mid-chapter patch, right? You're hearing about it. So, Trapper Sack, you start with 1 extra bear trap and allows for the transportation of 1 extra bear trap. This sounds similar to the Trapper Bag. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
But the Trapper Bag is a higher rarity.
That's right.
Yeah.
Trapper got a brand new bag.
He got a brand new bag.
So Trapper Bag got an upgrade, which we'll talk about. And then down at common, because before the Trapper Bag was uncommon, it gave you 1 extra carrying capacity and 1 extra starting trap. So we actually increased the carrying capacity for the bag and introduced the new sack at common.
Yeah.
So I think this is the extra carrying capacity is something that trappers really want. So there should always be carrying capacity add-ons if you want them.
Yay.
And there's another new common add-on, which was the jaws.
Which was the jaws, yes.
Right.
Which is the padded jaws, which we talked about a moment ago. We have a change from our diamond stone is now becoming the iridescent stone.
And it's going to do something completely different.
Yeah, so I'm going to read the flavor text. Traps sharpened with this sickly gleaming stone seem to gain a life of their own. Magical. Now, what actually happens is every 20 seconds, 1 closed bear trap chosen at random will become set.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
So
For
you
those
don't
of you at
have to
home,
pick them up.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, you kind of want to make sure that they're in a good place, and then after that, they will just set themselves, which is pretty nice. So you put them under that window in the shack. Someone's like, I disarmed your trap, it's all good, boy. And then it just resets, and you're just like, oh, man, that's...
So will Survivor hear the reset happen?
I believe they will hear it at the moment. If it's too strong, we will modify this.
I think there's a sound when it goes from exactly.
It makes that opening sound.
This is sort of loosely inspired by the Doctor's add-on that creates fake pallets randomly every once in a while. We kind of did something similar to pick traps randomly and say, okay, this every 20 seconds we're going to pick a random trap and open it.
Yeah, so look for that. It has a name change. It's still going to be an ultra rare.
So, okay, to clarify, if you had diamond stone,
you will now have this iridescent
stone. So if you had a big old stockpile of diamond stones, you now have a big old stockpile of iridescent stones.
Yeah, and the honing stone.
Right, so if you're wondering what happened to the diamond stone effect, the old one.
The honing stone now has a slightly modified version of the diamond stone effect. So The honing stone will inflict dying upon the trapped victim if they free themselves.
Right. But if someone comes over and frees you,
Then you'll be fine.
right.
Yeah. You should have a icon, an indicator that you are under the effects of the honing stone, so you'll know whether or not you should try to free yourself. If you do choose to free yourself, I would hope that you have unbreakable and tenacity to get the hell out of there. It's possible. Why not, right?
So yeah, so basically Honing Stone had a 50-50 chance before. And I think like 50% of people liked it and 50% of people hated it. So we're going for something that maybe maybe a little bit more fair, a little bit more consistent.
That's right.
There was more things about Trapper.
There's a ton of stuff.
How about
Disarm
the
time?
regen
Regen?
of
Okay.
the traps?
Absolutely. So we've added the ability for traps to be sabotage traps to regenerate. They will automatically repair after 3 minutes. The hangman's trip for the pig is going to reduce the bear trap regeneration time by a minute. And the oily coil, the trapper's add-on, will reduce the regen time by another 30 seconds. So for those of you at home, that can be reduced down to 1:30 respawn time.
It's probably worth talking about the fact that the coils all do completely different things now.
And there's so many things to talk
I know,
about.
Trapper really got some love.
Yeah. So the bloody coil. Well, actually, all the coils increase the.
Let's start with the littlest coil, because
You want to go through every single one of them because I have to do this off the top of my head at that point.
for those of you who don't know, the Trapper has these coils that you can replace, the add-ons that replace the coils that are in the bear trap, and mostly what they do is make them harder to sabotage, or in some cases, make the
Disarm time.
skill checks on.
Oh, you mean
Yeah.
the current ones?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like skill checks on sabotage, like that's
It's very, very neat.
a very, very narrow effect.
Yeah.
So we sat down, we took a pass on all of these coil add-ons. Do you want to talk about it?
I mean, you can, sure, yeah. So the coils now all have increased sabotage time and disarm time.
Right.
So therefore,
So
harder
disarm time
to
added.
Huh?
The
Yes.
disarm time
Yeah.
is added.
It's longer, right? So
Yeah.
by default, the disarm time has been increased from 1.5 to 2.5 seconds as well. So it is slightly longer by default, and that's not affected by add-ons. And then with add-ons, you can get that almost to 5 seconds if there's two tremendous modifiers, but we don't have that right now. So I think it gets to around 3-4 seconds at max. So all the coils will have the sabotage time and the disarm time. The gloves and tools will have setting speed and facility to escape. This is basically how easy it is for me to save myself from a trap, how long it takes for me to get out of the trap, and how long it takes for someone else to take me out of a trap. The bags will increase the capacity, holding capacity, and starting number of traps. That's the bags and the sack at this point.
So the bags already did that, but now some of them are a little bit stronger, and there's a third bag.
Yeah. The dies will always darken the traps as they currently do. They do not stack in terms of the dies. The jaws have an on-trap effect, and the stones are special. They're the uniques that we have.
Yeah, so now essentially it should be easier to understand what the add-on is doing, because similar add-ons have similar effects.
Yeah, so they kind of fall into categories now. So it should be easier for you guys to understand what you want to go for, which I would hope. The very rare bloody coil has received the ability to disarm,
Very rare is the oily coil.
which is the
Bloody coil
is the ultra rare.
bloody coil is the ultra rare.
It is the ultra rare, right? Good point, and it should be because it injures people when they disarm and sabotage a trap.
Once per trap.
No, well, you can only get injured. You can't be put in the dying state, so it's kind of redundant. Unless somebody else comes by and they're like, "You disarmed that trap, and I saw you get injured. I'm going to go and disarm it to get injured too," you know?
So the bloody coil
Yeah.
is going to hurt people who disarm it.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Isn't it nuts?
I'm so excited.
Yeah. We've also it also increases the sabotage time and the disarm time
Yeah.
as it's a coil, obviously. So I mean, like you're gonna see a pattern.
What does the oily coil do now?
The oily coil reduces the regeneration time of bear traps
Yeah.
by 30 seconds,
That's
in
cool.
addition to the sabotage time and the disarm time. But the sabotage and the disarm time for the oily coil is set to tremendous, and the bloody coil is set to slightly. Reason being is that I felt like
the effect.
Yeah.
yeah, and I felt like you want those people to get injured faster, you know. And I didn't want to tell you that they don't have like they only can injure you.
Wow, he just put that weak coil on. He must be a baby trapper. Oh my God, my hands!
I'm bleeding. It's gonna be great. I'm gonna be so happy. So obviously that's not it.
Yeah, so that was Trapper.
Yeah,
But that's not all.
that's not all. We
So
also
we have the other trapper.
the other trapper,
The hag.
our triangle queen. So we have made.
Trap queen.
She's the trap. Yes, we have. She's our Cabbage Patch trapper. So her add-ons also got groupings. They also had the rarity distribution modification as well.
Oh, can I start with a question? Because everybody's always asking, can
What's
we
the
just
question?
make Hag faster?
No.
That would be
No.
that would be the easy way to buff her.
Yeah, it would be an easy way to buffer. I think that's it's very simple.
There's the easy way and
But
there's the right way.
What I was
Yeah.
gonna say, why are we not?
Why we're not going for that? The hag was one of the first, well, other than the nurse, killers that we really wanted to focus on the power as her ability to catch survivors, and we wanted to identify that and emphasize that by making her a bit slower, so that it would be more efficient to use her traps rather than just chase people down, and it should be obvious compared to other killers, right? I think a lot of people want to play the hag as other killers and just chase after people. But ultimately, you will do better by using your traps. Maybe her trapping time was, well, her trapping time was way too long, I think, to start with, at 5 seconds. We've reduced this, so now it's 0.51 second for the middle and 0.5 for the ending.
So
It
for a
is
total of
2 seconds.
So 5 to 2
Yeah,
that's a
on
big
the
difference.
base.
this is ridiculous.
Power.
Yeah, and you can go even faster with the add-ons. You can go, I think, to like 0.82, something like that. Yeah, so 1.82. It was really cool. Her add-ons are now grouped as well. Oh, sorry, her trap range, you can actually effectively teleport up to 40 meters now instead of 32 at a
from
base.
So a buff to or where she can teleport. in the
Yeah,
area.
yeah. And each of the add-ons increase it plus 4, I believe. So plus 4, plus 8, plus 12. And then plus 16, I guess, would be the last one if there's a tremendous one. The insect parts are what actually increases the teleport distance. This is your dead fly wings and stuff. Your necklets increase the trap setting time. The water and mud increases the trap effective range. The eggshells and the egg increases the trap duration time. The willows reveal auras of survivors within the trap. And the
There are a couple
unique
of
group
unique ones.
is a bunch of unique ones.
Like the shoe and the...
But let me get to those. So
Okay.
hold on a second. One of the
so
big,
excited.
One of the big things to note, one of the things that most hag mains will be really happy to hear, is that we removed a lot of the inherent downsides that we had to the add-ons. So, for example, if we're talking about increased trap teleport distance, the common is slightly, the uncommon is moderately, the rare is considerably, and the very rare is tremendously, with the ultra rare being special in some cases. So, for example, the mint rag would allow you to teleport anywhere with a cooldown, right? Where the other ones were doing plus 4, plus 8, plus 12, plus 16, as I mentioned earlier. So, we changed some little things on the hag. Now her trap notification, so when you disarm a trap, I believe this was for the trapper, we moved it up to infinite range instead of being a set range, which is also an extra thing for the trapper. I apologize for missing that. For the hag herself, we have the waterlogged shoe. No, I want to talk about the scarred hand first.
Talk about the hand.
The scarred hand, we removed the speed penalty.
My God.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So now instead of moving slightly slower than the survivors, you will move faster. So the same speed as you normally move. So 0.4 meters a second faster than survivors. This will be pretty interesting. Let us know how it works out for you. You still get the massive blood point gain. Now, with that being said, we have investigated adding speed to the hag. And the way that we've done it is we've looked at the waterlogged shoe. So the waterlogged shoe right now, for those of you at home, reduces the speed at which survivors traverse through your trap. So we slow down while they're affected by your trap. It used to slow you down as well. And no, it didn't slow you down. I think it just made it so that you couldn't teleport.
Can't teleport to the trap.
So what we've done
The
now...
trap becomes a snare instead of a teleportation point.
Yeah. So what we've done now is we actually increased your base movement speed when you equip this add-on.
How far does it go?
You go to 4.5.
Okay.
Yeah. So you don't go all the way up to 4.6. You go to the same speed as the doctor in treatment, I believe. Let us know what you feel about that, and you'll get the feeling of a faster hag in that regard. And especially with the slower effective range, you can kind of use her as a...
Can you teleport with it? No.
You can't.
Okay,
No.
you can't.
Yeah, and you can... This would kind of be like using the clown's power, the hag's power like the clown, where
Like
you
area
predetermine your
control.
areas,
Yeah.
and then you can slow them down while you run them through them, and you can try to beat them down. So hopefully different ways to play the hag. I'm super excited for this. I've got 2 other little things to mention. One, the obsession icon is now shown to everyone.
Okay.
Okay.
So everyone knows who the obsession is at the beginning of the match, versus before where it was only the killer and the obsession themselves. This is in a work towards bridging the gap between the solo player and the Survive with Friends group, who can easily communicate this information, versus the solo player who has to type it through Steam. And Myers has been increased from 4.14 meters a second in his tier 1.
I'm happy with that change.
Up to 4.2.
So a small change.
It's massive.
It's
I
huge.
mean,
So for example, before, he would be catching up to survivors at 0.14 meters a second.
Right.
Now he's moving at 0.2 meters a second. That's significantly faster. It's like 0.5
a
faster.
25% increase in
Yeah.
how fast he catches up to people,
Yeah.
if you want to look at it that way.
Yeah.
But really, it's a 0.04 meters per second increase in this, or
That's-
0.06.
This is the massive difference in our game, though.
I know.
I mean, like, these little numbers can make a big difference. So I was running around as Myers earlier yesterday, sorry, and I had a really fun time because he was much more present than people thought, which is great. Yeah. You still have your tiny lunch,
Yeah.
so yeah, enjoy. I think. Oh, and we tested some stuff with the Wraith, but that will not be coming through.
Well, I was going to ask. So we changed Tinkerer,
Yeah.
and a lot of killers are relying like heavily on it.
Oh yes.
So what's happening with that?
So we've removed Tinkerer from all the mentions from all the add-ons.
That was fun.
That was long. It was so long. I think I dreamt about it last night. And what we've done as well is we want to modify some of the killers' charge times so that their base kits get a little sexier and their add-ons are still meaningful in terms of the effective amount that they add. The Huntress, for example, or the Guntress, as some people have mentioned, had a kind of machine gun effect by being able to throw hatchets very quickly. We have reduced the effectiveness of those add-ons at the moment, as well as the charge time reduction from the Tinkerer. So she's got a significant reduction to that. It should even out the appeal of the other add-ons, but it might be too much. Let us know. It's set to 0.8 and 12% instead of being 10 and 20%. So it gets to a total of 20%, which is one add-on.
And what about Raid Freddy?
So Wraith, we looked at his uncloak time and his, not necessarily his uncloak time, but more his uncloak speed and the curve.
Yeah, the curve.
Yeah.
We are looking at that again.
Yeah.
It's not going to be in the PTB. It's not going to be in the mid-chapter patch. I'm hoping to see that in the next chapter.
That'd be cool.
Nothing is confirmed on that side yet, but it's definitely something that we are actively looking at.
Yeah. In addition to the Wraith, there is the much talked about Freddy as well. We wanted to look into getting him down to the 4 seconds as a base time
So
transition.
buffing the power?
Yeah, and then adjusting the blocks so that they give the same difference, if that makes any sense. We would also like to look into reducing action speed to 0 during the dream transition and looking at the actual dream world effect, as people have reported that is quite imposing. So.
Yeah, nobody should have to feel sick during
No,
level
oh yeah. Should we talk about like the idea that we're going to be wanting to test out different FOV sizes? Like this is something that we've heard feedback on quite often for the killer FOV being quite small. It's set to 87, right? And we're investigating to see if it's possible to make a larger FOV without too many run-on effects. I know that when I played with the Shadowborn FOV, once you put it too wide, you kind of just start seeing you clip through the character's arms and stuff. So you might have a lot of extra work that needs to be done to actually let that be okay. In addition to the
still an
gameplay effects.
Idea that's floating around.
Yeah, but it's something that we're taking a look at. So.
Something that we didn't talk about, we had a question.
We didn't talk about something?
About, yeah. SNTD is asking, do you have plans to add back closing the hatch? What's happening with the hatch
That's a great question, yes. So I read a lot of feedback on my Reddit and on the forums and I received a lot of feedback from the team, sending me feedback from fans that they received as well and themselves. The hatch mechanic close on its own seemed to be really loved by killers generally, and some survivors seem to have enjoyed it. Others seem to really hate it in terms of the imposing situation they get put into at that point. When we look at the change that we did, the iteration that we did in the actual PTB. So the first one was basically the killer can find the hatch first, they close it, it's done. They can't reopen. unless you have a key. And then the second iteration was as soon as the killer closes the hatch, we activate the generator. So basically the end game.
I thought the second one was a survivor could do a generator and reopen the hatch that way.
Yeah, that was the second thing.
Did we actually?
You had to
Yep.
like touch the gen, basically.
Oh,
And
did we
then-
actually put that out to an
Yeah.
iteration of the VTB?
I think
I
that
don't know.
was
That's
it.
what I tested it.
That's
okay,
how it was
great.
when I got my hands on
Because
it.
basically when the killer closed the hatch,
Yeah.
we had made it so that the whole
That was the third iteration.
thing powered up.
Yeah.
I think that's the only one that made it. I don't think we had the middle one, but I could be
I
wrong.
might want to scratch this whole thing where we look silly from the video.
It's fine. I mean, like iterations, we go through so much stuff that I think it makes sense that we can be confused sometimes. So for the hatch itself,
Yep.
right? When we had the generators being powered, and then the survivor could effectively find the doors and open them and leave. This was missing scoring events, achievements, and general fanfare around the event. What we wanted to identify is that the end game can be a lot more exciting.
Mhm.
Right now it's a little lackluster at some points. We definitely wanted to adjust the standoff.
So in other words, we want to do more than just adjust the hatch. It's more of a slightly larger change to how the end game works in its entirety.
It was great because we got a good baseline and understanding from the community as to what they wanted and how they felt about it. I think it was good to try it, which I felt was really fun.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully we can get another iteration in, not for the mid-chapter patch, of course, but maybe for a later date. I don't even know if it would come with the chapter itself. It's a fairly big.
Can't promise anything.
Yeah, it's a fairly big task. So if we wanted to actually attack this properly.
It's not anymore only the hatch. It raised more questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the full end game should be adjusted, right? This is what we were talking about with Whispers as well. So
Yeah.
when we do adjustments like that, the idea would be to not have to rely on Whispers to have an effect similar to that late game, so you're able to find the survivors so that there's an urgency to leave the map and not stay and BM the killer, whatever the case may be. And if you do, it's at the risk of losing the ability to escape, right? Putting a little bit more power into the killer's hands, especially since escaping is not necessary to pip in our game, right? So it should make more sense to have a different cadence to that part of the game.
All right. I think that was all for today. That's a lot. That was still a lot of answer for
A couple of
questions. Thank you for joining us for the second Q&A session of Doom. And thank you, Horvath and McLean, for being here today.
Thank you, Not
We
Queen.
will
Always a
see
pleasure.
you soon. The end.